We want to roll now into our second presentation of the day. Terry Shabesta is with us from True Payments, and we're going to bring Terry on now to host the second segment. I will just remind you that you're logged in as an attendee, so you can ask questions. There's a Q&A format at the bottom of your screen. We encourage those and happy to share those with our speakers and presenters. If you have tech problems, raise your hand. We'll do our very best to help solve those as quickly as possible. And also a reminder to download the app. The app is it's in the App Store under Cherokee Media Group. So if you are searching for the app, there's an opportunity there to communicate with other members of the audience and with the speakers as well. And so we encourage you to download the Cherokee Media Group app. That is in the App Store. So we look forward to engaging with you on the app as we kind of roll through our AIS digital event presented by DRN. Well, we do want to bring in Terry Shabesta now. Terry is with True Payments and has always been a great friend of ours down through time, has presented at many of our conferences down through the years. So Terry, great to see you and welcome aboard.
Great, thanks, Bill. I'm going to do a test. Can everybody hear me? Okay, good. All right. So let me get set up here with a screen share. Okay. Patience. Love all this technology, right? Okay, so we're going to do that and that. And we are going to do that. Okay, wow. All right. So let me just make sure we've got all of that. Okay, guys. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for allowing me to participate in this event. Appreciate Bill Zaidetz and the whole Cherokee Media Group for the hard work in putting this event together. The Auto Intel Summit 2020 event has transitioned into a high-powered virtual offering. And I would like to share some insights and personal experiences as our industry deals with these challenging times. It's not the first time we've had to deal with adversity, and it won't be the last. But through events like this, whether in person or virtual, we can all learn, share, and work together to minimize the effects. So, who am I, and why was I chosen to present this keynote? 31 years of blazing the automotive digital trail. It's been a long time, it's been a long road, and some people say, once you get in, you can never get out. And I enjoy what I'm doing. I enjoy being part of the industry. I enjoy all the people that we get to meet and talk to, dealers, lenders, vendors, everybody, where it is a unique industry that we all participate in. We were one of the first to sell vehicles online through CompuServe, and that was in 1993. That was well before the internet. I'm a member of the National Vehicle Leasing Association and past president and current board member. A subject matter expert and media consultant. I've been a guest on CNBC, Fox Business, Bloomberg, and many other news and industry publications. We also powered the eBay Motors Finance Center, and that happened right in 2008 after the first industry crash. And back then, online lending was still pretty much in its infancy, but it was pretty amazing that in that period of time, with all of the issues going on, the buyer and the seller on eBay that we did, most of the financing we did, the buyer and seller were never in the same state. So talk about a virtual lending environment and digital retailing. We really learned a lot back then, and continue to apply what we learned then and over the last few years. We're a lender, as I mentioned, a dealer, and we're a fintech company. So we pretty much play in all the spaces within the industry. So COVID-19 impact. What has been the impact of the coronavirus? The Auto Intel Summit is going to have a lot of discussion around this topic over the course of the next few weeks. And if you look at the chart on the screen now, who would have thought at NADA, where we were just at in January, that we would be where we are today? Crazy times for sure. But the auto industry and American corporations shifted into high gear with all hands on deck. OEMs created incentives for consumers, lenders, payment protection programs, and 0% loans along with the captives. Dealers created safe selling environments and introduced home deliveries. Corporations, American corporations, provided a lot of hiring, did a lot of hiring. Companies like Amazon, FedEx, UPS, and food delivery services all were hiring thousands of people. Of course, those people had to buy cars. And we had vendors working with digital retailing and pushing that into the industry with working with dealers. All this brought consumers who are staying at home together and doing home and stay-at-home shopping. And what that led to, and this is a chart from what we showed from April lead volume that led to May and June sales rebound and continuing into July. So what happened next was because of the coronavirus, North American automakers halted production for 2 months, basically mid-March through mid-May. More used vehicle sales kept wholesale values strong. But we now find ourselves low on new vehicle inventory, probably until late August. And that's if there isn't another production shutdown with the current spike in COVID-19 cases. So what's next? Nobody knows for sure. But as the Auto Intel Summit kicks off today, you'll hear from visionaries and their insights to help you find the answers. First up, the changing landscape of digital retailing. So I've talked to many dealers over the last few months and began to visit some in person, and most have different ideas on what digital retailing is and how to embrace it. In response, I created the Digital Retailing Dealer Consortium. Dealer members provide valuable input and testing to determine what a true end-to-end solution should be. So let's take a look though at some of the issues dealers are dealing with as they evaluate the current digital retailing landscape. We start off with OEM certifications and mandates. We've seen many OEMs embrace digital retailing either with products of their own or certifying particular vendors in the space. But that can also eliminate some potential upstarts and other companies that have products in the marketplace. So that's something dealers they're using potentially another vendor that's not certified and having great success. So that is something that we are dealing with. Dealers are. Another big one is inaccurate payment quoting. And we've seen this across the different people talking about and testing, Brian Pash and others testing different digital retailing solutions. But with inaccurate payment quoting, it comes from a lot of it comes from self-credit versus real credit, allowing people to determine what they think their credit is, and OEM map requirements and restrictions, what pricing can be displayed online. Incorrect incentives applied. We see this because of and there's a lot of data out there, a lot of incentives being presented to the marketplace and to consumers, and all of that has to be correctly displayed to get accurate payment quoting. And what pricing do we use? MSRP, E-price, some other price, map pricing? In relation to this, Pete, who was just on right before me, and obviously we'll get him back again with his presentation, but in 2019, last year, Pete did a survey of dealers, and 87% of dealer respondents agreed that it's common for payment estimator tools to provide inaccurate or unrealistic payment expectations. So we end up with false consumer expectations. It encourages web rooming. If you don't know what that is, look that up. It also requires a lot of times for dealers to change their sales process. And there's advertising from many vendors about an end-to-end digital retailing solution. The other thing we see is surveys talking about consumer adoption, but how much of that adoption is really going on? Digital retailing tools need to be adaptable to a dealer's desired process. We're all different. Dealers are different. They're entrepreneurial. They like to do things their own way, and that's what makes some dealers better than others, and that's okay. But we as vendors and those in digital retailing need to work with dealers, not tell them what to do and how to do it necessarily, but work together because each one of us are different. This is actually an important time where dealers can lead and reignite that entrepreneurial spirit. So many of you heard me talk over the past, for a long time now, about credit first versus credit last digital retailing. Credit needs to play more of an upfront role in digital retailing. Over 80% of transactions involve financing. And credit affects all aspects of the deal structure, from rates, terms, incentives, vehicle selection, payment to income, debt to income. And we can also use instant pre-qualification to enable shopping personalization. Not by just using somebody what they think their credit score is, but real credit, and making sure that we're getting payments correct based upon real pricing and real credit. So, and that enables us to set realistic buyer expectations. Again, equates to higher CTA conversions and closing ratios. It's also used for marketing, shopping, and digital retailing. So in the awareness process, consideration, sales, and F&I. Credit First also accelerates the purchase and drives real end-to-end digital retailing. So where do lenders play a role in digital retailing? Consumers are looking for personalized digital experiences when they're selecting a financial institution. Some lenders and credit unions have started experimenting with digital retailing. Kemba Credit Union, for example, and others. So let's look at what's in it for lenders. Being able to provide a member or customer benefit, generate more loans and leases. Competitive, making yourself competitive against other lenders. Offers full spectrum credit users, not just subprime, non-prime. It also helps increase your look to book ratios and reduce disparate impact lending. That's a big one, especially at the dealership level. Speaking of dealership, it also creates a relationship builder for the dealerships. There's an opportunity here for more dealers and lenders to collaborate through sales, process, and compliance. And if we all work together, lenders, dealers, vendors, we'll create a product and process and an industry where everybody wins. So the bottom line, COVID-19 is creating a car sales roller coaster for sure. And what happens next, it'll be exciting to see what happens, but we'll all be in it together. So, do we want to leave this open for questions, Bill?
Yeah, absolutely. We've had a few come through, Terry. So thank you for setting that up. And I do also want to mention that I think we figured out our technical difficulties on Pete's presentation. So once we wrap up here with Terry, we will have and Eland Solutions and the Auto Intel Summit demo dash. Terry, I mean, I think right now, people are curious if you have any information on what percentage of consumers go through and in digital retail process. I mean, what are we looking at? I know it's obviously spiked over the last 4 or 5 months, but is that something that will continue? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, and that's a good question because there's a lot of people that will start digital retailing. They'll maybe just look at some payments, numbers, maybe they'll set appointments, maybe they'll submit a credit application. But some of the reporting that I've seen from some of the industry consultants, we see about a 5% on standard of 5% of consumers that will go fully through the digital retail process. Now, what we've seen on our Grail product, digital retailing, Grail DXP, is we're about 13%. And again, with credit first, people are more, they trust what they see if you're using real information. So they're more comfortable with going through that process, knowing that what they're seeing, it's real and they can actually get it. So, but I think we're still we're far away from having this grand idea of consumers are going to buy all their cars online. I think we'll get there. We'll get there more as technology and marketing and education continues in the marketplace. But right now, it's a pretty small percentage of people that are willing to go through the whole thing.
So in your experience, I mean, how do the banks, the credit unions, how do they compete with what captives can offer on a 0%? What is that looking like in your view?
Yeah, that's another good one because non-captives have to compete with 0%. I mean, a bank or a credit union, they're not going to be out there with a 0% loan. So how do they compete with those types of offerings? What we have found is that by taking incentives and cash incentives and rebates and applying that to credit union and bank financing, you get to a point where payments end up being as competitive or more competitive than a captive with a 0%. And it's important to be able to figure out how you can put all of those rebates and incentives together across all makes and models, especially if you're a lender promoting a digital retailing solution, because that's what's going to get you more new car loan volume. Because right now, if you look at credit unions and banks, they play mostly in that used car space. But right now, with incentives and the interest rates being low anyway, right? If the interest rates are higher, the base rate or the buy rates are higher, then it becomes a lot harder for a bank or lender to take those cash rebates and compete with 0%. But with interest rates at historic lows, taking that cash, applying it to a lender, a bank, or a credit union can absolutely make them more competitive.
Yeah. And one final question here, and we'll let you go today. The credit first digital retailing solution, is it attractive to buyers across all spectrums, or how are you finding that?
Yeah, what we have seen is, now what's important with that, and that is something that a lot of lenders and dealers think, oh, well, if we start doing a credit first, we're just going to get bad buyers, right? Non-prime, which is okay because we want everybody. But the way you get good credit customers to engage with digital retailing, you've got to give them something. If they're going to give you their name, address, phone number, and that information, no social, no date of birth, because no good credit customer is going to give you that, right? But if they will give you some information, if you give them something back. And as a lender, we learned this early on, that by providing payments based upon their real credit, they're willing and do that instantaneously. They're not going to wait for some, submit a form and wait for a dealer or a lender to get back to them at a given time. They want instant information. And if you give that to them, what we have found is at least a quarter of the people that will respond to digital retailing are going to be over 700 credit, which is pretty significant. So, but it's a full spectrum is what we've seen.
Fantastic. Terry Shibesta. Terry is the CEO of True Payments. And Terry, thank you so much. Great presentation, and appreciate you joining us here on day one of the Automotive Intelligence Summit digital event. Great job.
I appreciate that, Bill. And again, hats off to you and your team. It's got to be very hard to put on a virtual event, but very excited and look forward to participating later in the month with the workshop.
Absolutely. Again, Terry Shibesta, CEO of True Payments, did a great job. Terry, thank you so much, and we'll hope to see you soon.